everybody. It's episode 14 of the Fleece and Harmony Knitting Podcast. I'm Kim.
And I'm Jennifer.
So if you haven't joined us before, welcome. This is a podcast about knitting, and we have a yarn shop on our sheep farm. So we're vertically integrated, I would say.
Yeah.
Right from the sheep all the way to the yarn. If you've joined us before, then welcome back. We've got a lot of new viewers.
Yes,
lately.
thanks to Andrew and Andrea at Fruity Knitting.
Yes, we were featured. We did a little lambing segment for Andrea and Andrew for Fruity Knitting, and we've gotten a lot of people coming over to look at our podcast because of that. So it's been really great. So thanks.
Yeah, so welcome. We're so happy to have more viewers.
Yes, and if you haven't seen the Fruity Knitting podcast, you should go check that out as well, because they just do a great job. Lots of really good tips and interviews, and the knitting is fantastic. So that's something to see.
I think it's okay to say it's our favorite one.
Yeah, I think
far
so.
and away. Far and away our most favorite knitting podcast.
I think so.
Yeah, they do a really amazing production value.
Right.
Good job, Andrew.
Yeah, that's right. So today we're going to, we've got quite a full episode, and exceptionally we're filming on Thursday, which is a really tight timeline because we launch our videos on Friday. So it's a little bit crazy what we're doing, but we had things going on earlier in the week that we weren't able to film. So here we are, and we are filming in the store while it's open. So you may notice there's maybe a little bit more editing than usual because of anyway.
But it's a crappy day here on the island, so we're thinking no one's going to come out.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say it's crappy because it's actually a rainy day. Which normally, if you've been following our weather reports on every episode, we would be complaining about the rain. But now that we're coming into summer, I'm not so upset about the rain, and it's supposed to be nice for the next few days. So a little bit of rain, a few days of sun, it's all perfect for the grass.
Okay.
So
we'll see
that's
how that
good.
goes.
Yes, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll just remind you that if you like what you see in our podcast, that you can like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Yep. And the links or buttons to do that are below, or you can also wait till, if you're still with us at the end of the podcast, there's buttons there to do that as well.
Yeah, and by like you mean the thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Is that
yes,
right? Yeah,
yes.
the thumbs ups.
Yes, we're all about the thumbs ups.
And the comments, we love the comments.
Yeah, we've gotten some great comments.
Yeah.
So, and we some of the things that we're going to talk about today came from comments too.
Yeah,
so.
And a lot of people that just joined us after being introduced to us on Fruity Knitting are going through to the beginning. So I hope I haven't missed any comments, because they're on sort of every video showing up new now, so I've tried to respond to them all, but we'll go through and do a double check.
Yeah, it's not very good the way that YouTube does that.
I don't know, but it's just so great to hear from so many people.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Great. So as usual, we're going to do a little bit of a farm update. It's pretty short because basically we're waiting for the grass to grow, but there is a little bit of update on the pigs from last week's episode. And we're going to, of course, do our works in progress, and we're going to do some finished object discussions. We've been requested to go over our yarns and the yarn weights again, so we're going to spend a little bit of time on that because we've changed some of the designations of the yarn weights, and it's a little bit confusing if people that have purchased our yarns previously and now we've changed it. So hopefully the change has made it better and easier to understand exactly what kind of yarns that we have, the weights and what they're good for.
And there seems to be a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot. So we kind of picked them out in a color theme. So we obviously have many more colors than what we're showing, but we wanted to be something a little bit cohesive. Then, as I said, we're filming on Thursday today, so it's actually June 6th, which is the 75th anniversary of the landing in Normandy in World War II. And our grandfather fought in that war. He didn't land in Normandy because he went to Italy. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a tribute to him at the end, because he was our puppy, and he was a kind and gentle soul, and I'm always amazed how somebody can live through the horrors of war, and be such an inspiration, really.
Yeah,
he was an inspiration.
He sort of became a pacifist, I'd say, in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about him at the end. So if you stick to the end, you'll hear a little bit
And
of
of
war
course,
history.
he's married to our nanny, not that knit the sweater, but that knit the socks and
the
Afghans,
yeah.
and really did the majority of the knitting in our family.
So
he
Poppy Doherty.
he was a knitting companion.
Yes.
He's
Right.
probably done this a few times in his life.
Yeah, right. So we'll talk about him at the very end. Okay, so the first thing is what happened about the pigs. So as you recall from our last episode, perhaps, we had 9 pigs living up in our woodlot in quite a big area. And the day that we were filming the podcast, there was a big emergency because it seemed that the pigs were missing, but they were just hiding. So you can go back and watch that in the last episode. So the people that we were looking after the pigs for showed up to get the 2 remaining pigs, and they couldn't get them on the trailer either. So
very smart.
I think they made 2 attempts. And with no luck.
Yeah, and then once the pigs suspect something is up, you can forget it.
You're
They won't
finished.
trust you. They're the least trusting animal.
Right.
Smartest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it was up to Ken to get the pigs on the trailer. So the guy that owned the pigs left his trailer, and it was a bit strange because Ken was only looking after them for a little while. So it's not like they were really very comfortable with him. But we got a tip from a friend of ours, a hot tip.
A hot hog tip.
Yeah, hot tip. And apparently, the taste of sugar is like some kind of drug to pigs. So Ken went up with literally a little tiny bag full of brown sugar, and as you recall from our previous description of the place where they were living, was a big area that they were in, a big woodsy area. And Ken said he had like maybe a half a cup of brown sugar in the bag. So he was like, well, I don't know if this is going to work. Well, 5 minutes later, both pigs were on the trailer and Ken was the hero. So he just gave them a little bit of a taste out of his hand, and then basically they followed him anywhere. He threw like a teaspoon, he said, of sugar on the back of the trailer. They got up and ate that. Then he threw a little bit more further back and did that until they were both on the trailer. No stress, no fuss, no muss, no forcing the issue. They just went right on. He closed the door behind them, and then that was it.
I think Rachel's knit night baking would probably also work then.
Yes, maybe. I don't know if they like butter.
Butter and brown sugar is like a heavenly combination.
Yeah, but they definitely like brown sugar. So there's a tip if you're having trouble, all you people out there. With
Well, I mean, we've been doing it for 5 years and we didn't know.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It's just we didn't know.
Yeah.
So it's the conversation every year when we decide whether or not we're going to get hogs is, are we really up for just trying to get them on the trailer?
Yeah. Because we don't like to force them, and we don't want to stress them out.
They're too strong.
Yeah, and we don't want to stress them out. So this was like perfect. It was literally 5 minutes.
Yeah. Very good. Good job, Ken.
Good job, Ken.
Brown sugar to the rescue.
Right. Great. Okay, so that's about it. And the rest of what we're doing now on the farm is basically waiting for grass to grow. So it's starting. It's looking hopeful.
Actually, I think I have to mow my lawn this week.
Oh, okay. Can we put sheep out on it? No, not in the back fence. Yeah, we mowed the side lawn by putting sheep out on it. Yeah. And our pastures are full of dandelions, and that's on purpose. I'm sure people are wondering like what we're doing. We're growing a crop of dandelions here. And that is because there's a big campaign. We have lots of beehives here on Prince Edward Island for pollination and everything in the agricultural areas. And we're purposely leaving those fields because they were some of the first flowers that come out to feed the bees. And
horses love them. Does sheep love them as much? I think they do.
They're eating them. Yeah,
they're delicious. I mean, people can eat them too.
Yeah, that's right. So
they're delicious. I haven't eaten any. My understanding is they're quite delicious, and certainly horses love them.
Yeah. And you can eat dandelion greens. So anyway, so there's our fields look pretty yellow, but that's on purpose. And there's a really good story about a friend of mine from when I was a little girl. Her mother was from Holland, and this time of year she was always very impressed about the dandelions, and she loved the dandelions. which are really considered a weed around here. And I can remember the quote she said is, all we have in Holland is tulips. It was crazy because everybody wants tulips. And that's all, it just goes to show that you just really want something different.
Yeah, and we do actually have beautiful tulip fields here on the island too.
Yes.
I wonder how they're doing. When is that?
They're
end
behind.
of June? They're behind.
2 weeks behind,
2
but
weeks?
I think they're about to start blooming.
Okay, I just want to say to everyone on Prince Edward Island involved in the agriculture industry that when you're 2 or 3 weeks behind for 7 years running, you're no longer behind.
Yes.
You're actually right on schedule.
Right. You need to change your schedule.
We've moved on. The climate has changed.
Yes, I think that's true. That's true. Okay, so that's that. And we're going to talk about our works in progress.
Yay.
So you want to go first?
I always do.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this test knit, and last time it was really just a little mess. And now of course, because it's a Jennifer Beale design, you're going every which way and doing all kinds of things. So now I'm actually in the flat.
You're knitting in the flat now?
Yeah. So it's, there's really not much to show.
Well, you can show the color work attached to the...
Yeah. However, what I'm so happy about is how beautiful these colors look together. Because when I was doing this color work part on its own, I was kind of like, it doesn't look as pretty as Jennifer's for some reason. Like, are my colors off or what have I done? But it's when you put it against this November Sky blue, it's just gorgeous.
Pops.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you... Anyways, I'll put the little accompanying video up to show it a little bit better. But yeah, so it's coming along. So I'm definitely past the worst part, which was getting this color work band done on a too short cable.
Yeah. So Jennifer's pretty smart because you get well, I don't want to call it tedious, but you get the difficult part.
She does the sleeves first a lot, which is funny. And I noticed, I think, that Andrea from Fruity Knitting just said, hell no to that, and went right to the body.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
in
okay.
the last episode, she had the body done. I doubt she has 2 sleeves hidden somewhere.
Oh, okay. I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, so
okay.
I think it's funny. I mean, do what you want.
Yeah, do it.
She tried to help you.
Yeah.
But you refused to do the sleeves first.
Yeah.
I was like, wait now. Anyway, that's funny, because I'm doing the same, that's the same Lunaire that Andrea is knitting, and I'm doing the same one, and I did the sleeves, so I'm pretty sure it starts with the sleeves.
Yeah.
She didn't like that idea.
No.
Okay.
And it makes sense because my Joe Batt's arm starts with the sleeves as well.
Right.
So I really hoped that I would have a sleeve done, but it's not done.
What happened there?
Yeah, I know, it's bad. So I'm just going to bring out the color work. I'm thinking ahead because...
it's like a November Sky themed...
Yeah, I forgot. It's been so long since I looked at the color work that I almost forgot how beautiful it's going to be.
Okay.
So...
Wow, that's a good chunk though.
Yeah, it's we'll put it the right way.
Almost done.
Yeah, I'm almost done. And as you recall, this is actually a top-down construction. So it goes like this. And so you can really see how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous. And it looks like it's almost done, but there's actually about this much more to do because it comes over. It's a little bit longer, so it comes over your wrist.
That's not too bad though.
No, it's beautiful, and I'm just really pleased with it.
What's not to love about that?
Yeah.
More people need to make this. Join in. You can catch up to Kim, no problem.
Well, I'll never say that I'm the fastest knitter in the world, that's for sure. And so just to remind everybody, the picture, you can see the color work, but this is going to be the contrast in
it's
colors.
going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
What
I can hardly wait.
Showpiece that's going to be.
But this is just the right sleeve. I've got it on the left arm, but it's the right sleeve, so I still have the left sleeve to do before I get to adventure on any of this.
Yeah.
But it is actually going much faster now because I said you would never memorize the pattern, but you kind of can.
I said the same thing about the color work lines in that one.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised after 23 repeats how much you can remember.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least you get some kind of a rhythm going. But this is it's not gonna be for summer, the sweater.
I can imagine.
It's gonna be toasty warm, but I'm really happy with it.
That's a fairy sweater. You're out on the deck of the Prince Edward Island ferry, just loving
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, not a care in the world.
That's
as
right.
the breezes go by.
Yeah.
So
Checking out the sights, the
Yeah.
seals and the
yeah,
birds.
so that's you know, making progress, but it's a little bit slow. I'll try to do better.
Progress. Oh God. Who are you?
Yeah. All right. So that's that. And then I do have another little work in progress.
Sure.
Yeah. Because I have to say, it's very enjoyable knitting the Joe Batt's arm, but it's going to take a little while. So I did want to start something else. And if you see my little friend on the side here. Sheldon the sheep.
He's a friend to all men and women. A friend to all, Sheldon.
Friend to all, yes.
Everybody wants to buy him constantly.
Yes,
yeah.
everybody wants to buy them. And it was just a little sample that I did with some of the first batch of yarn that we ever had spun from our flock, which was spun by the Belfast Mini Mills. And I stuffed it with white wool, and I should have used like dark wool for the legs and everything, but he's in the shop. It's kind of like a little mascot, and everybody wants to buy him. Anyway, so I decided I was going to do another one. It's actually a pattern from the Curly Girl Co-op, and it's called Sheldon the Sheep. And it's a really fun party. It's a really fun pattern. I don't know what I'm thinking about. No, okay. Must be ready for a
We
party.
hardly ever have parties.
Yeah, right. Let's do it.
It's a crochet
Anyway,
party.
it's a crochet project, which is really fun. And so I just started at the top. So this is the top of Sheldon's little curly head. And I'm doing this at knit night. And I really love this crocheted loop stitch. It's really fun. So this is his little cap, and now I'm starting the decreases, so that'll be the round part of the top of his head. And it's amazing because this ball of yarn, I just grabbed a random ball of natural yarn that we had from some spinning that we did really early on, and it's slightly thicker than the yarn that I used when I did the original one, and you can see the difference in the size of the...
It's going to be a larger Sheldon.
Yeah, it's going to be a larger...
Sheldon's dad.
Yeah. So so this is just a little fun project, and it's this, you know, it's so cushy, and that's a little thing that I'm just working on. So there'll be a second Sheldon. I'm developing my own little flock.
That's great. And he'll have proper black
Yes.
batting in his arms. Or
Yes,
legs. Or
exactly.
her. Maybe this one's a girl.
Yeah, maybe. Sheila will be your name. Sheila and Sheldon. She's bigger though.
Okay.
That's good.
That's
all right.
Okay. No comment.
No comment. Okay. So that's it. So I think I'm just going to call her Sheila from now on.
Okay. Go Sheila.
Yeah, Sheila and Sheldon.
All right.
So maybe have to write a story about them.
Okay. So we have an FO that's not ours, which is quite typical. Half of our FOs we haven't FO'd.
Yeah.
And some of you will have seen this before at the Toronto Knitters Frolic.
Right.
It's not the exact one. However, I was so impressed with how our Aran weight yarn worked in this pattern.
Right.
And with this color, and people were loving it at the Knitters Frolic.
Which is Fiddlehead.
Fiddlehead, yeah. We sold a lot of Fiddlehead because of this sample. And this is called L'Enveloppe.
Yep.
It's French.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's a design by Sally Melville.
Yes.
And it uses, this is the extra large.
No, 1X.
1X.
And she managed to do it with 4 skeins.
Oh.
But she literally had this much yarn left.
Good job. Jennifer Hicks.
Jennifer
for us,
Hicks,
of course,
yes.
our hero.
So I would be very hesitant to say the recommendation was 5 skeins, but Jennifer is very strict about getting gauge on everything, and she knits to gauge, and she literally showed us the piece of yarn she had left, and it was literally like that. So,
but there are also smaller sizes if you're. I think this is for a 41-inch bust.
Yeah.
And it also, you can do it in this seed stitch version, and there's a garter version, but it's just a really cool thing to throw on over whatever. It's kind of like a poncho. There is an armhole, so there's actually a bit more structure to it than it looks like just here on the magazine. But it's a wonderful, wonderful project. This is so cozy and squishy.
Right.
It's very stylish, and we just wanted to have one of our own for in the shop for when
Right.
people come in and are looking for projects that don't take tons and tons and tons of yarn.
Right.
So certainly in the smaller sizes, you'd be able to do it for 4 skeins of Aran.
Right. And the little details on the neck, like the folded over neck and the way that the lines of how you join the knitting, and you use some short rows on the side, on the left hand side, to get that shaping. It's really, it's lovely.
Yeah, I want to wear this Friday night.
Okay.
We're going to a little concert, and I know her place is so hot.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't have the wood stove on, or
Yeah.
I will be melting, but I think I'm going to wear it.
Yeah.
Called
So
it.
It's really nice. And I was really surprised, I have to say, about, it's knit in our Aran, but it drapes really well. I don't know if that's just because of the seed stitch, or
I don't know,
it's
that's
just
what
lovely.
I loved about it. It's such a great project for a yarn, even though it wasn't designed for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of that, that's actually a really good segue. So I've prepared a little segment, which I'll play now, where we're showing not all, but a lot of patterns that have actually been designed specifically with our yarn. So I think we mentioned this last time, but there's now a thread on our groups on Ravelry where you can look at what other people have been making with our yarn, and also any patterns that we've published. Is that on there too?
Well, they're not all there because we didn't put up pictures on all of them, but they're...
But anyway, we're kind of creating a thread where, like an inspiration thread, where you can see what other people are doing with our yarns, because of course not everything is going to be designed to the yarn. You need to be able to find other stuff to make.
Right.
But I am going to play this segment now where I'm showing a lot of patterns that have been specifically designed using our yarn to start with, which a lot of people do take comfort in using the yarn that's, you know, recommended originally for the project. So we'll play that for you now, and hopefully you get some inspiration. And it's kind of hard to get them all gathered up into one spot, so I thought this would be really helpful.
Yeah, great.
surprising number because I was lamenting for a couple of years, like, nobody's designing with our yarn.
Yeah.
But, and now, of course, we have the Great Bearishwa that I just showed during WIPs that Jennifer Beale is doing, too.
Right.
So that'll be our first sweater.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exciting to get stuff out there and to have more inspiration for people to use your stuff and get to show it off a little bit more.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it is a bit of it's a comfort for people to knit with the yarn that was actually, the pattern was designed to go with.
Yeah.
So it's
perfect.
good. No calculations of changes in yarn weight and that kind of thing. So I think that that's probably a great segue, speaking of our yarn weights.
Okay.
So we've had a question about our different weights of yarn, and I'm going to, I just read a comment actually this morning. That's a really good comment about working with natural yarn versus our untreated yarn versus superwash, is that even if you do have the same weight and gauge, or the weight and length of yarn, that it does behave differently. So it's a bit more robust, the natural untreated yarns. And this knitter was saying that she actually finds that she can use, for example, she'll use our fingering when it's a DK pattern and it comes
Makes
out.
sense, yeah.
But you can solve that problem by just doing your swatch and measuring.
Yeah, you
as
can
well.
always figure it out.
You can figure it out,
but for sure you cannot go by the yardage and weight of a superwash.
right. And that's, that's what I ran into with the Joe Batt's arm as well.
Yeah,
It was originally knit in a
Yeah.
superwash, so I had to make some
I think we've
adjustments
talked
and
about that a lot.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to just go over the yarns, and we're going to try to do this in an unconfusing way. Because it's a little bit confusing. So when we started making yarn, we went by the Crafts Council, I guess it would be the reference. We looked at a bunch of references online about the weight and the yards per pound and all of that.
None of which say the same thing.
No, so it's very ambiguous.
Yeah.
There's different opinions about what weight is what, and even though I think it's the Craft Council that actually tried to standardize it, it's still not really standardized. And then there's like wraps per inch is another measurement and whatever. So it becomes very fluid, I would say, about what your yarn should be called as far as weight and gauge goes. So we just put it out there, and then the knitters chimed in and gave us some feedback, which we thought was very valuable. So we've changed the names of the weights. So, and this happened about a year ago. So if you purchased our yarn more than a year ago, you need to be careful about what you're ordering online because it might have changed. So if you have the label, we didn't change the actual yards in number of grams. So it's the same. You have to go by that. If you
That would be one way to
have
recognize what you've got.
older than a year.
Yeah.
And we didn't do any favors for anybody because we didn't actually put the name of the base on the label anywhere. So we've done that as well. We're putting the name on the base now.
Although we're working through some old stickers that still don't have it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting there.
The weight and the yardage is the way to really tell. And if you're ordering online, like I said, just be careful of that you're looking at that. So how do you want to do this? Will we just go right ahead?
Well, I just want to explain first of all that we've selected oranges to show today.
Yes.
And the reason I've done that is because surprisingly, when I went to the Knitters Frolic, the very first thing to sell out was Midway, which is this orange sock yarn that you're going to see in a minute. That's completely off the wall, I thought.
Yeah.
And I got told that a really nice oranges are very hard to come by in yarn line. So I was like, wow, I thought that would be sitting there until the end of the show, and it was the first thing to get bought. Because I guess people who love orange are a little out of luck when it comes to, and so then I looked around the show and I'm like, my gosh, I'm the only one who has orange yarn here that's not more like a rusty kind of thing. So we're going to show off some of our lovely oranges.
And
today.
we have lots more.
I have so many. Yeah, like we have a lot of orange and coral tones. If that's your thing, head on over to our website, and I think there's a filter where you can click orange and it'll show you all the orange yarns we have.
Yeah. So, and we have oranges going to red, and we have oranges going to rustier brown shade. Yeah. So after all that talk about bright orange and rusty, the very first one we're going to show is actually Fox and Kids, which is actually brown.
It's actually an orange.
A burnt. Yeah, sort of. Okay, so and I will mention that we have this little saying, warm and fuzzy on the inside of the label. That's not the name of the yarn. So that's been a big barrier. That's been really confusing.
Yeah.
So this is our Aran weight yarn. It's a 3-ply, and it's called Signature Aran. So you'll see that on the website. And this is the main yarn that we sell.
Well, it's what we started with. I think our worsted is overtaking it.
Yes, so it's evolving actually. Yeah. So this is a 3-ply, and I have to apologize because I'm I've talked about this before. We do yards and grams, which makes no sense. I understand, but
it's two different systems, but it's the way we like it.
Yes, it's really weird. Anyway, it's 150 yards for 100 grams, which is about 3.5 ounces, 3.5 to 4 ounces. So if you want, and I never can do the translation into meters properly.
People say meters to me when it comes to yarn, and my eyes glass over.
Yeah, I know, which is weird because
we're
use
metric
meters
for everything.
Yeah, yes.
No idea.
So this is the color is Fox and Kits, and it's a 3-ply Aran called Signature Aran. 150 yards for 100 grams. So the next one is worsted, and that's called SELKIRK worsted. It's a 2-ply, and it is 200 yards for 80 grams.
Yep.
And it comes in all the same colors that our Aran weight does. And it's pretty straightforward. It's a 2-ply. That's what I'm using on my Joe Batt's arm.
Yeah, it's becoming very popular. And this is called October Sunset.
Yes. October Sunset, right. I don't have my glasses on. I always film without my glasses, so if I look a blank stare, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a really cool orange, actually, and of course our Aran comes in it too, but it's rug hookers love this one for pumpkins and fall scenes and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really, it's like a true orange.
Yeah, if you make a sweater out of that, you're making a statement.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so there's that one. Then the next one in weight is a 3-ply. It's finely spun. We're calling it flock fingering. So we consider this a fingering, but it is still quite plump when it's washed, and it blooms when it's been washed and blocked. And that one is 380 yards for 114 grams. And this is a variegated that has orange in it.
Yeah, it's called First Light.
Right.
And we did mention last episode or the one before that we've taken flock fingering offline because we can only make it when we have a certain fleece.
Right.
But I will put up the stock we have in First Light for purchase just for you guys.
Right.
With a direct link, because now that you've seen it, people will want it.
Yeah.
And I do have a few of these in stock right now.
Right.
But typically you won't be able to find flock fingering online anymore. It's just when we get a chance to make it, we'll put it in the store. If there's something special that we're doing, then we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
But we're just not able to get the fleeces we need to make it reliably enough to just leave it up online like we normally do with everything else.
And it's the same weight and length as our sock yarn, which we're able to do easier. So we'll see how this all turns out, but that's the flock fingering. So we've had a couple questions about that. Is it discontinued? Technically it's not discontinued, it's just hard to keep online when you can't get a consistent, it takes a very particular fleece type.
We could leave it up, but it would be sold out most of the time.
Right.
So it's a bit, we might change our mind about how we're handling that, but for now, the important thing you guys need to know is that this is First Light, and I'm putting up what we have in stock. And there'll be a direct link that only you guys, our viewers, can see if you want to pick some up. And it turned out lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll just actually open it just so you can see a bit more of what the color.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Once it gets in the store, it just goes out the door. So we'll set it aside for the online viewers. Take it off the shelf after we finish here.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Okay, and then the next one is the sock, point prim sock yarn. We are not using any I always want to say artificial flavors, but any synthetic fibers in this.
Or artificial flavors.
Yes, or artificial flavors or colors. We're actually making this with a mohair, 20% mohair. And as people that are following us know, we like to source everything that we can from the island, and we've actually have a little stash of mohair. It's a really good story. I think it was one of the last flocks of Angora goats on the island this woman had.
I think they're herds.
Herds, okay. A herd of goats.
Yeah.
And she retired from being a goat herder, and she was actually a nurse. She had a fascinating story. Okay. She worked in the Arctic for many years. Anyway, she had, she was downsizing. I think when she came, she was down at the age where she was downsizing, and she found bags of mohair, her last clip, I guess, of her mohair that she had from her Angora goats, and she came to us and asked if we wanted to buy it, and we said yes. So for a limited time, our sock yarn and our Eldon lace, which we'll talk about later, is actually made with PEI sourced and mohair.
Typically we purchase from Ontario.
Yes, because that's the only place we can get it.
Yeah.
So this is called Point Prim Sock, 380 yards for 114 grams. You can get a pair of socks out of this skein.
Yeah, with quite a bit left over.
Yes,
Yeah.
so you'll see both sides now, and then pattern, so
sock
the
pattern.
sock pattern, and there was yarn left over from making those socks
Yeah.
to spec. So
Yeah, and this is midway.
yes,
And this color is only available in the sock yarn.
right. So there are some colors that are only available in sock yarn, and this is one of them.
Because I did a whole neon sock thing.
Right.
I like crazy socks.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
yeah, and sometimes two different crazy socks at one time.
Yeah, matching is optional.
All right, so then the next, you've heard us talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
Eldon lace. It's a lace weight. It's a 2-ply, 500 yards for 80 grams. And there's specific colors that this come in. We've had to limit the colors because it's a little bit tricky to make because it's very fine. And it's 30% mohair. Just to make sure that it that I can get it fine enough to be able to make that weight. And the colors are just gorgeous, which you've seen them all in Jennifer's.
All of them are in the tested, and quite a few of them were in the Ramia project that I showed
and
earlier, too.
this is the, my shawl. Water has been knit with that. We use it a lot. I have to say it's really, really nice to knit with.
Yeah, because
really
that
nice.
Barrachois tested I'm doing is soft.
Yeah.
It's going to be just beautiful. I can't wait to wear that project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so this is the Eldon lace, and you know it's not the finest lace yarn that you'll ever knit with because I can't get it any finer than what it is. But 500 yards for 80 grams
pretty
is
fine for a
pretty
natural
good
wool.
For a natural wool, and it just has a lovely handle, and it's really really
we're
nice.
selling a lot of it. It's beautiful, and 500 yards is a good amount.
Yes,
and this is the color Autumn Birch.
right.
Which we've used in a ton of stuff too.
Right.
It's a very popular color. It's just, and I don't, because with the mohair luster, some of these colors just look amazing in the sock and the Eldon lace, the two that we make with the mohair. It just brings out the sort of sunshine in all of these colors. So.
And the Janet, who is our helper that comes a couple times a week, actually knit the water shawl in this for her daughter, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, the lace shawls by Sylvia, the water or the Waiting for Rain, we've each knit them now with this Eldon lace, and they turn out beautiful.
Yes.
They're 2 skeins, I think.
Yes.
You have a half a skein left over.
Yes, that's right. So, and then those are our regular yarns, and then we do every now and then we do some special yarns. One that we keep in, it's special because it's not all fiber, it's not 100% wool, and we keep a small selection of it, is a bulky, and it's called Belfast Bulky, and it's a 4-ply, and it is
20%.
20% alpaca, sourced,
Island alpaca.
yeah, sourced from Green Gables alpaca, actually. Janet Ogilvy has that farm. We spin her yarns for her, so the yarns that you see in her shop are spun by us, and we also purchase some of her fiber to mix with our wool to make this bulky yarn, and we've used it in blends for special blends and stuff as well. So I'm hesitating because I can't read what the weight is.
Oh.
I have to admit it.
There's only like 10 years difference. Believe me, it looks blurry to me too.
Okay.
70 yards for 85 grams.
Right.
So it's quite chunky. And I did a project with this by Very Shannon.
Yes.
The fingerless mitts.
Right.
Ask me if I remember what they were called.
Landslide?
Landslide.
Yeah. So
I
my
think.
eyesight is going, but my memory is still intact.
Because I remember in the episode I said lakeside, but it's actually landslide. Yeah, and it worked really, really well with this yarn.
Yes.
So I forget what, it might have been the first episode, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, bulky's pretty forgiving. Like there's
Right.
got to be a lot of bulky patterns out there that you can use this in.
Right.
And it's actually
very
a lovely
squishy.
product.
Yeah,
it's
very
really
squishy.
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just if you're not a bulky knitter,
Yeah.
then no can do. But that's
Yeah.
Belfast Bulky. And this is Plover or
Yes.
Plover. Who knows? Which reminds me, Newt
Oh.
Canut, whatever. It's actually pronounced Canute.
Yes.
Thank you. I think it was Andrea from Fruity Knitting who sent us the official. She had an Uncle Canute.
Yes.
So we had an interesting chat about that if she had said that incorrectly, how awkward that would have been.
Then
so
you need to watch that episode, the Mother's Day episode.
The Mother's Day episode, we talk about a Canute sweater pattern. And anyway, we finally have it right. It's Canute. I'm sure our mother's watching this right now. She'll be relieved to know that we all know how to pronounce that correctly in the family.
Right.
Thank you again, Andrea, for knitting. She's a wealth of information.
Since the missing or the mispronunciations were hilarious, but not very polite.
No. We apologize to all the Canutes out there.
Yes, right.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
We have some of this left, and I'm going to get the other color.
Okay, so the final one, these are special edition yarns because they're not at the weight of our regular yarns that we have for sale normally. So this is called Pumpkin Patch, and this is Fox and Kits, but it's on a slightly different base. So, and the weight and 250 yards for 100 grams, and it's a 3-ply. So this is not a weight that we usually do, but it's a pretty standard weight for a lot of yarn companies.
Sort of like in the realm of Cascade 220.
Yeah, exactly, those types of yarns. So we just have these two colors because it was a special dye that we did for a designer in Montreal for Swin is the name of the company, and she's trying to do as much knitwear as she can with Canadian sourced yarn. So she's done toques with these colors, and also A Night Without Stars. We did it for her, but I don't have any of those left. So we made a little bit extra when we made the yarns for Crystal's toques, and these are the two colors that we have.
And we're showing it again because it's beautiful yarn.
Yes, the batch was really
and it didn't sell out after we mentioned it last time, because I know not a lot of people can wear orange, but since we're doing an orange thing today, this is an opportunity for somebody who loves orange to get a really nice sort of DK weight.
Yes.
Or maybe it's a light worsted, I don't know, whatever. It's like a Cascade 220 style deal out of Fleece and Harmony, which doesn't typically happen. So that's that.
Yes. So,
very good.
That's our yarns. Hopefully we've answered all your questions.
So it seemed thorough.
Yeah, and that we gave all the details that you need. So we also asked to do a tour of the store, so we'll do that some other day. But I can tell you're seeing most of it.
Yeah, there's just a little bit over here.
Yes,
which is sort of the sales desk, and trust us.
Yeah,
it's not film worthy.
Right. So we will do a little round with it someday, but we won't do that today. Did we say about the tour of the farm?
No.
Oh, okay, so what we're doing instead is a little tour of the farm. So we're going to just break away for a little bit of video that Jennifer took yesterday. It was a beautiful, beautiful day here yesterday, and she did a little tour of the farm. So you'll be able to see that instead. Of
I just kind of it's hard to. I was thinking we really need a drone.
Right.
It's hard to sort of show a farm. Without professional film equipment.
Yes.
It was very windy yesterday, so I'm having to voice over it, unfortunately, to tell you anything, or you wouldn't have been able to hear a word I was saying. And so what I really did was I just filmed or recorded some of my favorite spots on our property where I like to hang out, and we feel very lucky to live here. There's some really beautiful spots, and just before we go, the horses were afraid of the tripod.
Really?
So if you're, it looks like a machine gun stand.
Oh, well, they wouldn't know.
They were definitely afraid of it.
Really?
And then I was pretty sure Taylor was going to attack it, so then I had to boot it out of the pasture.
Okay.
Anyway,
she's the herd leader.
Yeah, and she was like charging it, so I was like, okie dokie, we're done here. Anyway, that's what's going on there. I had this.
I actually haven't seen it.
No, I know. I had this vision of the horses running towards me, and I was going to end. Yeah. Anyway. So
the best laid plans.
In photography, and I knew there was 30 millimeters of rain coming today, so it wasn't no opportunity for a redo. Anyway, let's go over and check that out for a few minutes, and there's a voiceover sort of explaining where we're at.
Okay, so we're starting out in the main horse pasture here, and they're reacting to the fact that I have a tripod in the pasture. But this is where our horses spend 90% of their time. This is also our winter pasture. We only move them in extreme weathers to give them access to additional shelter, but they pretty much hang out here most of the time, and they're just really, really nervous. But they do warm up to the idea in a little bit. And yeah, there's Taylor. I think she's considering actually trying to take this tripod out at this point. And then in the middle we have Purdy, my horse, and then Miles, Kim's horse, is the white steed, gracefully walking through the frame here. So those are our horse friends. And they're really just companion animals at this point. This is looking towards the back of our farm. We own everything you can see here, including the backwoods. This is a lower pasture that runs along our creek. Sometimes the horses are here, sometimes sheep are here. We do rotate for parasite control. And this is the creek I just mentioned. And it's lovely to have this. It runs along 2 full sides of our property. And it's lovely sitting here and listening to this little waterfall. It's probably not great that that log that's creating the waterfall is still in there. It would actually be better to remove it for the health of the creek, but we haven't done that yet. And this is our back pasture, and now our Harmony Lane, which is a trail, a walking trail. It's actually a woodlot trail, but we use it as a walking trail. And I walk through here pretty much any day that the weather will allow. Just, it's a lovely, relaxing thing to do. And in this trail, we've preserved a couple of really key trees, including this one, which is probably the oldest tree on our property. It's a giant pine tree. So we left that there. And then living in our woodlot is a family of ospreys. So this is them kind of letting me know that they know I'm here. Every time you walk by, they will come out and circle, and they're just trying to protect their nest. And then this is what I call Sleepy Hollow, because the legend of Sleepy Hollow is one of my favorite stories growing up, and it's a really cool place. And that's our farm from the back, and then just some sheep in the main sheep pasture.
Okay, well that was great.
That was okay.
I hadn't seen it. Maybe
Lots of dandelions.
Yeah. Well, we're doing our thing for the bees.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the lambs aren't out on grass yet.
No,
So-
I have a little bit of footage in there of the lambs from the other day.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we'll maybe do a better job.
Yeah. Oh,
when we
sorry,
have a little
not
bit more
lambs.
time.
They're adult sheep.
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now I just really want to. I'm a bit of a history buff, so I just really wanted to take a few minutes to talk about. This is quite an anniversary that's happening today in France. Actually, there's a delegation of people that have gone over to Normandy to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Normandy landing in World War II. I believe that there are actually 37 Canadian veterans of that landing that are traveling with the delegation that's gone over there, and obviously this may be the last time that there's they celebrate in this size of a celebration every 5 years. So was a big celebration in for the 70th anniversary. The next one will be the 80th anniversary, and many of these soldiers are now well in their 90s. So it's becoming more and more important to remember, I think, the sacrifices that they gave. So as I said, our grandfather, Charles Tosh Doherty, went.
Tosh is a great middle name.
I know, I love it.
And you know what? Our other grandfather was Lawrence Sinclair.
Yes.
St. Clair.
Yeah.
Which is very cool too.
I know.
We really had it going on with the middle names in our family.
Yeah, I know.
Very
it's very
distinguished.
sophisticated. Yeah. Even though they came from humble beginnings.
Yes. I like
yeah.
the St. Clair is very cool too. Do you
Yeah.
know where that came from?
No, I don't. We'll have to ask our mother.
God, you
Maybe
better
she-
ask her.
Yeah.
Or no one will know.
Yeah, exactly. Mom. Anyway, so Charles Tosh Doherty was called Poppy.
Yeah.
By us. So Poppy Doherty. So actually, he was Poppy, and our other grandfather was Granddad. So that's how we kept them separate when we're talking about them. So Poppy joined the Cape Breton Highlanders 1st Battalion in 1941 was when they were brought into active duty. It was a regiment that was actually quite old. I think it started at the end of the 1800s. So in Cape Breton Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and they were mobilized into active service for the World War II in January 1st, 1941. And then they shipped out on the 10th of November in 1941 to Great Britain, to England. And that's where they trained. And they left Cape Breton on the 10th of November from the research that I did. And then they were mobilized into active duty on the anniversary, 10th of November 1943, and their first assignment was in Italy. So my grandfather never really talked about the war very much. He's made a few comments, but he didn't really talk. He said that he dug ditches mostly, which I don't really think is necessarily true. It was an infantry division. They were part of the 11th Infantry Brigade of the 5th Canadian Armored Division. So I made the writing very clear. So I don't want to make any mistakes on that because it's very important that I get it right. So they fought there until February of 1945. The war was still going on, and they were shipped over they were moved over to the Netherlands after that. So there were some artifacts in my grandmother's house that were from Holland. And I'm not sure, he talked more about Holland than he did about Italy, so I'm not sure if because the war was kind of winding down at that point is that he felt more able to talk about it. They were still working hard, obviously, but they were he had fond memories of the people from the Netherlands because they welcomed them there, and they were billeted in houses and things like that. So he talked quite a lot about that, compared to Italy, which we knew that he served in Italy, but he didn't really talk about anything. But when your life is, he ended up with melanoma on his back, and his doctor had told him it was probably from actually baking in the sun in Italy, doing all of those, digging those
God,
dishes.
if you're in our family, you don't want to bake.
No.
We have no melanin. As if I need to tell you, it's sitting here looking practically blue.
Yes. And so there's things about your war experience carry on through your life. He was fine. They removed it, and he was fine after that. But that was just another reminder, I guess, of that. I can't say enough about how it makes me very emotional to think about that. Fighting in a war must be, you do your duty for your country, but I just can't even imagine how it is. And my gratitude is, I'm just full of gratitude for the people that did that. He also, there was a really poignant story that my grandmother told me, actually, was that when Poppy came back to Canada, he became a warden in the National Park Service for Cape Breton Highlands Park. So, and a lot of his buddies did the same thing. They came back from the war and worked in the park. And the house that they were given to live in when they started was a house in Pleasant Bay, Cape Breton.
Which is a beautiful spot, by the way, let's say.
Yes, it was beautiful. However, they got isolation pay for being there because it was very remote. They talk about using snowshoes to go get the mail and things like that. But the house, it was a beautiful little house, but there had been a huge fire on Smoky Mountain a couple of years before they moved there, and they fought that fire for months and months, I think.
Is it the Big Smoky Burn? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, it's quite a historic thing in Nova Scotia history, too. And even in our childhood, you could still see the remnants of it. I'm sure it's buried now. Under new growth. Yes. But it was pretty visible even when we were kids going there in the summer.
So the people that were fighting that fire actually lived in the house that was, I guess it would have been purchased by the Park Service, or I'm not exactly sure how that all worked, but they were given that house, and my grandmother told me that she actually had to take glass, like a broken windows or something, like a straight edge of glass, and scrape off all of the soot that was on these beautiful hardwood floors that were underneath it. And yeah, so she said they arrived there and she did that for months, actually cleaning it. She was a very good housekeeper.
Oh my gosh.
A grandmother.
Yeah.
Yes, very particular. And she told me this story. She said that she was complaining a little bit one night when they went to bed about being on her hands and knees for weeks and weeks, scraping the floor with a piece of glass. I think it's a true story. I don't think
Sounds
she was
very
exaggerating.
dramatic.
Yes, yeah. And my grandfather said to her, Mary, I don't want to hear another word about it. There's no bombs blowing up over our heads. We should be thankful. And I think that is true.
Right. Even though we don't agree with husbands telling their wives to shut up.
Right. Anyway, so that story stuck with me and she said she never said another word about it. She never complained anymore because of course he was right.
Yeah. And I think that separation is something that we're so far removed from. Like, to think that your husband or loved one would be gone for years, and you're never assured of their safety.
Yeah.
Just incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure lots of us are married to people or do ourselves travel for a living. You know, you're away 4 or 5 days. Oh my goodness, I miss you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, 4 years.
Yeah.
And having them in the face of danger. And of course, there are lots of people around the world facing that right now.
Yes.
You know, military service personnel. So a big shout out to those families who really make do under certainly not ideal family circumstances to just complete their job, you know, to do what they have signed up to do or to serve their country. It's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah. And my father was actually born in August of 1941. So, as you can imagine, there weren't very many children being born right then, at the beginning of the war, maybe. But they tell the story of when my grandmother and her sisters used to get together. They tell the story about it was really a novelty to have a baby around, and I think they took him everywhere, and there are a few pictures of him dressed up like a girl because they
whatever works.
Yeah. And he had apparently this very beautiful blonde hair that had little curls. So I think he was pretty spoiled.
Yeah, sounds spoiled rotten.
Yeah. Anyway,
adored by all the other wives who didn't get a chance to have their babies until much later.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's just a little bit of a shout out for that, and just a thank you for people that still serve today, for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if we have any military service people who watch, or spouses or whatever. If we do, give us a wave.
Well, certainly Neil from
our button maker.
Our button maker served in Afghanistan. So
yeah.
Okay, so on that note, it's I guess it's not necessarily a happy note, but it's certainly a note of gratitude.
Right. That's good.
So that's it for today's episode. And I really hope I didn't make any mistakes on the research that I did.
I'm sure we have family members who will correct us.
Yeah, but it would really be. I really find that's it's important that I have.
Yeah, or if anyone else has family from the Cape Breton Highlanders, we'd love to hear from you too.
Yeah, it's great.
So, and just another reminder to please, if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and please comment below.
Yeah.
And the links to purchase any of the special things I mentioned will be in the show notes. And we've got another episode during the summer in the bag. Yeah. I'm always impressed when we're able to get it done this time of year. So we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Yep. So have a great 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for joining us again.
Okay.
Bye.